Hello, you're very, very welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It would be lovely to be able to see more of you in person, but you're very good health. Cheers, wife.
Cheers. Cheers to you. If you have a copy of the book, thank you so much. This is our only copy. I've been guarding
We've got one copy between us. Yeah, and I'm actually allowed to touch it, which is a bit unusual. Right. I suppose this is about the launch of the book. Ta-da! Live in this Chateau Dream. I think it's fair to start off with saying that 2021 has not been quite what we expected last year.
Well, that's to say the least, because we ended 2020 feeling like the wedding season was going to start. You know, we was in touch with everybody, and we really thought that come January we would be in the year of the celebrations.
I think that was the 2020 where we were isolation. It started more normal. I think we were expecting more to happen, and then all of those weddings, that some from 2020 that were going into 21, some of the 21 wedding events which were already planned, you had to then manage. Yeah, because that was a big part of the start of our year, wasn't it? Sort of making the decisions and seeing that we didn't quite see the ability to hug. By the way, that was our benchmark for people coming here. You have to be able to hug.
It was. I mean, I primarily speak to the couples that get married here, but I found that Dick would get up, be getting on the phone and saying, "Listen, if we can't do a wedding where we hug, we won't be able to do it." But everybody was unified on this. So
yeah,
it was an interesting year. The thing is that it's always nice to sort of know what's going on in our world, because it changes, doesn't it, so quickly and all the time.
But for the children, 2021 has been relatively normal. It's the new normal, and it's not quite right, because Arthur and Dorothy, bless them, they've been to school, it's been open throughout, but they wear masks every day.
Yeah.
And that was something that, you know, our final check when we drive them into school every morning is who's got what masks. Yeah. Arthur chews his. Dorothy likes hers to be matching her outfit. It sums up our children, really, doesn't it?
Completely.
And I think when it comes down to the year, we have been very fortunate. We made Make, Do and Mend, the second series, but with camera people. You know, real people pointing cameras at us. And you know, that was so much easier for us compared to camera. Because we were making something up in Angela's Tressery, and then we're making it down the Wall Garden. We were having to hump and dump the cameras everywhere.
That was in 2020 when we filmed.
Yeah, that was the first one. But this year we had people here with us.
Yeah.
And it was in our bubble, by the way, completely sort of isolated.
And that's how we sort of started the year. And it was similar, wasn't it? Because the year before, our focus for the first half of the year was writing sort of the first book, a year at the Chateau, which sort of was taking all the way to the focus of our wedding. And then this year we kept joking to ourselves that it was a bit of a deja vu, even though we had our lovely camera crew, which just incidentally is only 2 people.
It's a crew, 2 people.
Yeah, still our crew. We were writing living the Chateau Dream as well, and it felt sort of very similar. We'd be talking to our contributors, we put the kids to bed, and then we would sit down in our different places and start writing.
But the year itself, the book was a big focus because that was within our control, how much we were actually doing, and that was quite fun. And we'll talk about writing the book, and we'll talk about that process again in a moment. But Make, Do and Mend, and in the backdrop, we always had Escape to the Chateau 8. Series 8, what's that about?
Oh well, I don't know if you've seen it. It's only available in the UK at the moment, but it's been a bit bonkers this year, because when we realised that this was not going to be the year of the celebrations, and actually it really didn't completely dawn on us, because although we had the majority already sort of transferred into the future, we had a little crew of hardcore people going, "I'll get married this year, I'll get married this year," and they didn't actually get transferred over until like late summer, which was difficult. But you know, is that roller coaster.
But that was a discussion that took place, and everybody agreed. You know, it was the hug criteria, and that was a key part of it. But Escape to the Chateau itself has been a big focus of this year as well, hasn't it?
Completely, because of the the weddings and how the year's gone, we've done lots and lots of grubby, dusty jobs this year. I mean,
in fact, this is a nice little clean part of the chateau that we're sitting in, just so you understand. Okay,
there's a couple of extra deja vus going on right now because we're also wearing our outfits, what we wore. I don't know, did you do that on purposely? Because I saw that you put your clothes up.
I did. I made myself look. Come on, what's another year? Another year for me is just another year.
Because the first, it was interesting, the book covers, we'll cover that because we always have quite a lot of fun. But we were quite glad, weren't we, for the book cover. You had your smoking jacket on.
Yes.
And it was sort of, you know, because it was it highlighted with our wedding. And this year, I'm still sort of, I've got, not a kimono, paint new, which is slightly different because
it's a word most folks haven't heard before, Ellie, just so you understand. I've heard it lots.
But if you are a lovely lady, especially if you have curves, this is a very flattering dress. I particularly like them. I think we wanted to be a bit more casual because this book kind of feels like it was the doing and the building, wasn't it? So,
yeah.
But I just love the fact, genuinely, that you have worn the same clothes. You did it all by yourself.
I know. It's interesting. My wardrobe is obviously not controlled by me. Who are we kidding? Normally I get told what to wear. This is the reality of my life. But when it came down to having put our effort into sort of deciding we were going to write the book, it was a very interesting sort of decision because it was easy to do because we had so much more to say. And I think that's a huge part of the way forward because we didn't know how much in the first book, when you set out to write a book, you're never quite sure how much you're going to be putting in there because we spend a lot of time planning, a lot of time executing.
Completely. It's harder, would you say, it's harder to write less words?
Well, that's always the way. To be pithy is difficult, but for us what was quite interesting is we always plan. And I think, but coming to the book and actually talking about the process of writing the book, I think there is a big difference between the two books. The first one was we came when we started and we knew we had an objective, and our objective was our wedding.
Completely.
And that was the focus, and that was everything from electricity to sort of water to, and that was the focus.
It was, and because we had a plan simply to get to that point. In a way, the first year, although it was a bit bonkers, it was easy. But when you've got
then we had the rest of our life. Yeah. You see, that's when it gets interesting. Having done our first, we've done this. We had the rest of our life, and not only did we have the rest of our life, we didn't know if anybody was going to watch the television program and exactly when it was going to be on telly. That was part of our life. Yeah. But we spent all our money. That was really quite a large part of what we were. But we had to then make things work. We had plans. But that was the sort of the size of the challenge we had.
Well, and we had this big blank canvas as well. And I'm gonna just pound it. There we go. I feel very proud of it. And actually, when we first got the coffee, there's a little video of when we showed it to the kids first, and we just always feel quite proud of having them. It's all involved in everything, and they are really so engaged as well, aren't they? Like reading dedication is always going to be sort of like to the children. I just lost what I was going to say. I lost my trail.
When it came to we had the whole challenge, the whole world ahead of us. Yes, I wouldn't know where I was going to go there as well. To be fair, but we had.
I definitely had somewhere.
Yeah, but we had the ahead of us. We had so many options, but we had to then start the work of changing from the grunt work of getting to our wedding to making our dream come true. And living the Chateau Dream is quite the title we talked long and hard about because. Living is what you do while you wait for your dreams to come true. That's something we talk about. Everyday living and sort of what we're doing, this is the dream. It's not just sort of one day we'll have 2-hour lunch breaks.
That's a different dream.
No, but that's part of the Chateau Dream. Yeah, but what we have to do is we have this sort of, everything you do while you're building your dreams is actually your dream and what you're doing. And for us, when we started our year after the wedding and after we sort of had stuff, we said it was time to build, and that's what we're covering. It's the building years, isn't it?
Completely. And you know, your dreams. You know, you've got different type of dreams, because you've got, as you say, you've got dreams that you aspire to, and you've got dreams of that moment. And I guess when after our wedding, the big thing was we just wanted the family to be comfortable, and they were. We had toilets that worked, and that was
flashing. The fact the lights, you've turned the switches on the lights. Come on, this.
But our focus was to essentially create a home and a business and a revenue, because we're very honest in this book, because we had completely no money after our wedding, and we had to somehow, we had one room, a functioning room, which was a honeymoon suite,
a possible lesson room,
and we had to, and of course we had sort of, the chateau
reception rooms
as a backdrop, and we had to. This is why we talk about it being the building book, because we had to build the business from nothing, and yet we've got this lots of lovely home, but we didn't have we didn't have funds, so we were taking sort of favours from friends, and we were.
I took any job that was coming. Any job came.
You went out to work as a television presenter.
Yeah, we went off to do some bits and pieces, because anything came into the pot, and it was interesting because the book is covering that, and it's covering our sort of growth from sort of breathing for the first time in a year to actually going, okay, time to get going. And
then there was lots of firsts. Okay, it was like we got the website up. We had just before the website, we had our first Food Lovers weekend.
We need to put some timelines in here, because the start of 2016, yes, when we started together, we had plans. I've still got the plans up in my office actually. I've got a big A-note sheet of paper with, these are all possible revenue streams. Which ones did we want to do?
Yes.
And I think it's down as high-end getaways or luxury getaways. Is what we called our. Which we print, and we've written this in South End before we left. Okay, I'm just going to give us a little reading. I have got my glasses, but this is up to you.
Okay. Right.
You haven't read this to me yet. I just sit here. The only thing is, it's like sort of time for the kids. Whenever one starts to tell stories, everybody just falls asleep.
You don't. I'm a good story.
No. It means it's bedtime. Is what I meant.
Gosh, I do feel like I'm reading to the kids now. And I feel quite colour coordinated with the book, which is really making me smile. But I think this really does sort of set up the start and the excitement and optimism that we felt, because although it was scary, sort of the world was our oyster at this time, and I think we felt it. So, okay, the clocks turned midnight. It was our first New Year's Day together in our forever home. Anything and everything felt possible. Our celebrations were more of a snuggle than a party, but we had achieved a milestone. It was a new year, and we both felt the anticipation and excitement of the unknown. The first morning of the year started frosty but calm. We could hear the birds singing, and all four of us sat together in bed chatting. We talked to Arthur and Dorothy about the science of a year, what it meant to start a new year. At 1 and 2 years old, nearly 3, can you remember the kids' birthday? Oh gosh. 1st of January was most certainly just another day to them, but Arthur grasped the concept, and he definitely knew his birthday was coming soon.
That's what he knew. He knew nothing about the new year. We talked about the cycle of the planets and seasons, but none of that mattered at that stage.
As we sat together in bed, we were filled with happiness, and knowing the move to France had been the right decision. It did not matter that the electricity to our suite came by an extension lead from the downstairs hallway, nor the wallpaper was falling off and the paint was hanging down from the ceiling. We were broke but happy, and in our home it was filled with love and laughter. Our future was in our own hands.
And there's a couple of points that come out then. It's still got a creaky spine, this book, and you don't want to open it too much.
Also, I sort of kind of feel like my mum's Gonna take that.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of points that come out in the start that it was the start. There's four of us. It was the start of the year, and we sit in bed still. It's still a normal thing for us in the morning. Arthur and Dorothy come and join us. We come and chat, and we sort of and we have that sort of morning time. And the whole essence of our journey and what we're doing in France is about that family side of life. And I think it's really quite special because if you picture us with, and by the way, Dorothy was literally, she was one nearly two, so she was no size at all. Arthur was just a little bit more than a toddler, not a lot more than a toddler.
But I honestly remember that feeling like it was yesterday, because there'd been so much craziness during the year before, and it was all wonderful and good. But then
manic it was. We were knackered.
We were, and we got to the 1st of January. And it always feels that you can always say, right, I'm going to start something new whenever in the year. 1st of January just always feels like a new beginning. And starting a new beginning in our new home, because we wasn't there the January the 1st year before.
No, we're still Southend. We're still Southend the year earlier.
And knowing that it was right, because it doesn't matter what you do and you think you know if it's going to be right, but there's always going to be a chance that it's not right. But boy, it was so right.
We didn't actually feel, we always felt in our first year was we had so many more jobs to do, and it was wonderful. And
there wasn't enough reflective time in the first year.
There wasn't enough reflective time, but except for whenever we went out shopping and we came in, and we still do it now, as we come in to the end of the driveway and turn in and look at the chateau, we still take that breath. Now, this is 7 years on, we're still taking that breath and looking and going, wow, that's nice, and just sort of thoroughly enjoying that moment. So all the way through, we knew that was great. And in here, it's interesting because this is the Salon, and it's a nice, but it's actually, it's actually the Salon and Halloween together, obviously.
Yeah, it's a big deal for the kids. They do love it.
But we sort of, I've always had that feeling about how lucky we are and how the decisions have been right from the very beginning. But it was interesting because there was a little bit of concern, and I mean that at the start of that year, because we hadn't launched any business yet. We knew what we were going to do because we had the plans, but the actual, starting from not having the chateau paying for itself to the chateau actually doing what we'd always planned it would do was a big step. And we didn't know when Escape to the Chateau was going to be shown on the television. We didn't know when they were going to finish and get all that together. So we had to launch and get ourselves going in a time of, there was uncertainty there.
Completely. And actually, because it was a new series, there was always going to be a chance that it would not actually even hit the television. You know, so we couldn't wait for that to happen. And so
that's a really important part of it, isn't it?
We genuinely just carried on with our lives, and you know, and as I say, it was the building the business. It was the website. It was getting our first customers, and you know, we're still in touch, obviously, with Charlotte and Richard, and
that's our first wedding.
That's our first wedding, and we talk about that quite heavily in the book because boy, there was a lot of firsts and a lot of learning, and actually it was very, very interesting because we realised that everything shuts down in August, and that we were gonna to be smoother on our next weddings, that we would have to put a lot of systems and processes. So you know, we learned along the way, didn't we? We did,
and I think I think we have to build up this year we have to build it up from this sort of the planning and making things happen. Had to be done on a shoestring. Had to be done on a shoestring, because the money wasn't there for that. But that whole build-up and the planning and what we were going to do, it was a matter of we had to get a revenue stream coming in. And I think that was the key focus. And because of that, the website and you had the whole of the vintage patisserie events business. I was known for cooking from Celebrity MasterChef, and we'd always had the plan of bringing those together. And the website and getting out there, I think it's quite an important thing to understand. We had our first revenue coming in before Escape the Chateau had even been heard of.
Yes, because the website, was it June or July? I can't remember. When the sketch in Chateau, it was, and we launched the business in April that year. So we
got some traction. People actually want to come.
I think selling anything of your first. Even I remember selling my first cupcake about 20 years ago in a Spitalfields market, and there's so much satisfaction. Anything when you just when someone buys it, even when we put something up on our website now, and someone does you have the first sale, we'll be speaking without sort of partners in the UK. And haven't got a sale yet, haven't got yay! And there's just that massive satisfaction. And do you remember when we were just jumping with joy at our first bookings? It was. And
then they came, hooray!
And it's fascinating because and this is why writing is it's cathartic, the right word or not. It's really incredible because when it's going on in real time, you don't have the same thoughts about when you reflect on things.
You don't stop.
Yeah, you can't. You don't have the time to reflect. And actually having that moment to be able to write about things, and Helena and Owen having a bit of a giggle about they paid us a deposit and we said thank you very much for helping us buy our lift, and all of this money would come in. Money would go out in the same day, and you just don't think about it. But it really does feel like an honour to go through and relive things, because you do have a different take on it when you're thinking about things retrospectively.
I think we need to cover a little bit about our writing process, because I think it's really quite important. We don't always agree. You can ask the children, they'll explain that to you, yes? But we both believe in planning, and we both love a spreadsheet.
I do, I love a spreadsheet.
In a really weird way. In a really, really weird way, she loves a spreadsheet. So our writing process involves us capturing all this information. And it's really important, this, because when it comes down to us reliving it and thinking about this, we were going back, this year, we were going back to the very beginning thinking, do you remember this? Do you remember doing that? And I'd forgotten the fact that because we were broke and we'd been to the supermarket, Angela had spotted some trees, that are some fruit trees that were €6.
They were €6 in this lovely Hessian bag.
It was reduced. It was the reduced little last bits.
And I remember sort of Dorothy being sort of so ickle, and she was sort of in the trolley, and we filled the trolley up, and then you were like, I want a couple more, and you got Dorothy to grab the trolley and put them on the floor.
Because for €6, which at the time was £1.50 to the pound, so we're talking £4 a fruit tree, we put our first line of fruit trees in the walled garden. And that first spring, and winter and spring, because we didn't have a lot of money to spend on things, we did quite a lot in the garden with the kids. And Arthur and Dorothy had some of the little pictures of Dorothy in a little tartan overcoat and things, and the weeding in the garden. Angela, when we're actually doing the task of sort of planning what we're doing, I'd lose Angela for ages, and then I'd find her looking at her photo file, little tear on her. Do you remember? But it was exactly that, wasn't it? Because our planning takes a lot of effort, because when you have a plan, then we're quite good at executing, because the two of us sort of working together. She's gone.
Oh God!
I've lost my wife. This is what happens, by the way. Oh, the little pictures.
No, I'm trying to find. There was a garden. I can't remember which one it is, but there was a garden section. It was much more problematic sorting here. It was much more problematic sorting out the photos this year, because there was just so many more, and also because we'd had a number of weddings, we had a lot better quality photographs, because the main photographs in this book are from Charlotte, so they're the good ones. But look, here you are in your garden, and look how tiny the children are. And this is the moment that you're talking about. This is mobile phone pictures, but that's lovely. Oh, The kids have just so enjoyed sort of it, that they love seeing pictures as well.
The first bit was tackling brambles. It was tackling brambles and tackling sort of the weeds in the walled garden were sycamore trees 40 feet tall. You know what I mean? It was huge, and the whole progress of what we're doing. But coming back to the planning, 'cause that's really quite important. When we have this plan,
we did get distracted.
Do we? Yes, we got lucky coming back. But when it comes to the actual the plan, when you have the sort of the chronological bits, and that's been checked with emails, and if we disagree, one of us goes back and gets a dated photograph to show the date, or gets an email that sort of says this is what happened at this time, to make sure, you know, that's when we went to that place, that's what, so we understand.
Completely. And I will go to any lengths to prove I'm right.
And when she's not right, I never hear anything. All of a sudden, she goes to these lengths and then it goes.
But that never happens.
Okay, we'll just leave that one in the air because no. Our plan is then when it's done, we then start writing and we share a document together.
Yeah.
And I think it's been wonderful because I'm in my study, which is over that direction, and Angela's in our suite over in that direction, and we sort of, the two of us are sort of typing at the same document. And it can be in the morning, it can be at the weekend, and children with your mum and dad, we get some daytime stuff. But when we're actually sort of writing, you can sort of see the document move a little bit when somebody else is typing near you.
Yeah, I do. It comes up saying, you know, Dick, and there's sometimes I'll, that's what it sounds like. And sometimes I will have a bit of a giggle and write a message to you, and I think as you've been writing, I sometimes have fun.
Yeah, it's really funny. You see, this is the humour in my life. But actually, that process of writing it together just means that we do it together, but we don't actually read what the other person's doing. We've sort of got some division. We read it, but sometimes we find whole blocks that we haven't seen. Because if you've done the early morning and I've done the late night, we can pass like ships in the night with our sort of writing.
So, okay, we get our spreadsheet of the chronological events, and then we get to it because this book is in two voices. You know, I'm in bold, and actually the choice. And the choice of me being in bold was purely because I actually wrote less, so it was better.
You see how ecological we are.
Yeah,
It wasn't at all. It was because I was your shirt.
It's completely true. And there are natural kind of divisions in how we take the lead on stories. Because
Angela's never written about toilets.
Don't write about toilets or electrics or things that I don't do. And then I will, you know, stuff when you was away. Obviously, you're writing about when you're away, especially in the early years. Because there was a point that we managed to be sustainable here, and you didn't have to go away anymore, which was always our dream. And I think we need to get to there in this book, which is quite exciting. And there's things that I'm always going to write about. You know, you'll never write about upholstering or doing any of the crafty stuff that you don't get involved in.
Wallpapering and painting.
No, and a lot of stuff.
The pain.
So you know, children's clothes, or you said the part of the wedding celebration, some of the business stuff. We've got our natural divide, but what often happens is that when we've done our first pass of the book, you know, we kind of get the bones together and the meat on it, and then there's a number of passes over it.
Look, I was, before we pass on from that, you've got to mention these passes because it's interesting. Because the first thing that happens is somebody reads through the book and thinking the wonderful witty.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the bits before where we add to each other's stories.
Yeah, but when you have people who then read the book and they try putting it into English, we fight that. We don't worry about them turning it into English.
Now there may be things in this book that don't read as proper English. But we don't talk English.
But when we're doing the audio book, it's really important that we can actually read it and say it. So, but this is quite important. So when we're reading each other's, I think we accept each. I've got a sort of a Northern Irish element to what I do, and you've got your Essex element to what you're doing. And between the two of us, we have our own little language. And if the words don't exist in your dictionary, you've got the wrong dictionary. And I think that's part of our book, isn't it? It's sort of being us.
It definitely is. And I will go through some of the stuff you write, and I will comment on it in the book, and you will as well. And it works. You know, this was sort of, you know, we had a bit more sort of learning, but by the time we sort of got that
was done ages ago.
I know,
last year.
but when we got to this book, I feel like we had more of a system in place on how we do it. Now I'm going to just talk though a moment about how lovely it is to write. Okay, and if you you know, it's quite easy to get your journey, whatever you're doing, sort of write it down in a memoir, because you know, when you, as I said before, when you write something and think about things retrospectively, you see them differently, because you've got that time to kind of think about it, and it's quite special. But there are memories that that if you put time to, you relive them. I mean, we sobbed. I know that I did at certain parts of writing the book, and it's very, very easy to have all these memories floating around in your head, and you do remember them, but to grab them and capture them and write them down, I just think is a beautiful gift to have for your family. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel quite personally proud of, that the children will be able to read. I just think it's a lovely thing, you know, get a notebook and just write down some of your things.
Grandchildren.
I know.
It's going to be grandchildren, and you know, when we're gone, it still exists, and it still exists, and it is. It's interesting because we did making the television part of what we've done, but that's only you only touch on the television, what's in there, what sort of takes place, and so you know, to be fair, there's 3 hours of television in our first year, and our first year we were up for most of the hours of every day, we were working, and now there's a lot more in there, and the next bit, building the business, there's a lot of stuff that people don't see because and you know, and people say, oh, they didn't do this. If you think we should have done something, or you believe, you probably found we did it. It may not have actually been shown on the television for lots of good reasons, because they have to craft and pull things together to keep you there without using your remote control to go and watch something else over on the telly. That's the whole game. But it's being crafted. But we do so much just basic dog work.
And there are some bits that we do in our life, a lot of it, that is really boring TV.
This is just talking about me doing toilets and electricity again. This is my life.
I know. I mean, you can't. There's only so many times that someone could film someone sterilising a jar before you put preserves in it.
So if you see us making, and we do it with Arthur and Dorothy all the time, every single time the jars are sterilised in the oven, 80 degrees for 15 minutes, that's not a problem. And Arthur knows that, and he knows how to touch things. But we don't show that every time. But you see, but it's interesting because everything in our life is normal. We do all the things that normal people would do.
Completely. And I think this is, you know, this is what's lovely about writing, because you get the opportunity to talk about the details of these things, and you know, we hope you enjoy reading it, but we have absolutely loved completely writing it. We really have. It's been lovely to talk about.
Do you know what would be nice? Just to have a little bit more time. And we made the time to do this, but can you imagine just sort of doing it during the daylight hours? That's how things a little bit. Can you imagine typing during daylight? We don't do that.
Completely. So the point is that we do sort of work day and night, and we still do, because we are still building in our different ways. But what I think what surprised the both of us about living the Chateau Dream is that we wanted this natural evolution, and there was a really clear break after our wedding, and then it was really sort of a clear start with the building. But we thought that we would probably get about 5 years in this book, didn't we? So, which was because you know, it wasn't the same. And then when we actually genuinely started writing, we'd written half the book in the first year.
No, it's worth saying. It does make sense if you understand the fact that when you write a book, there's a certain number of words going to these books. If you look, they're about the same sort of fatness, and so they want a certain number of words. when we start sort of having got our spreadsheets, we start putting the stories together. And how do you stop when you can't stop? You can't go sort of, and then we did such and such, and we went out in the garden and planted some trees. It's not that. You want to understand what happens. You know, Arthur and Dorothy digging holes, us finding stuff, doing all of these things, and all of a sudden it grows and grows and grows. And I think we scare people, but we've actually sort of show the first little bit. And we're going, we can't do 5 years in one book.
No, we did. So a couple of things happened. First of all, we made the book actually a little bit bigger, which was good for everyone, and because we had more space to write. And then we on our journey we had this conversation before we shared anything with publishers, and we said, I think we need to write less. Dick, write less.
Dick, write less. Oh, did you hear that? Dick, write less.
So we both tried.
Verbal diarrhea there. Come on.
We both tried to write less.
But
and then we were like, no, it's just not going to work. And we spoke to our lovely Vicky, and we were like, we have a problem. She's like, what's the problem? We're like, we've got too much to say. So we made a really good decision together, didn't we? You know, us and Orion. That actually we would only do sort of 2.5 years, and that we'll at some point in the future write another book maybe. So which was good.
I think the key thing about the sort of how much got into it, it was the building part of it, and it was going, and I think
it was detail.
It was the building, but it was also explaining that, because if you didn't actually join us in the book on our first Food Lovers weekend, you wouldn't have got the fact that we worked for one couple coming for the weekend, and our hourly rates were the same as any sort of minimum wage job. That's what we were earning to do it, and that's because of the sheer hours and everything we put into it. And then it sort of grew, but the whole idea was we wanted it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And if we didn't spend time writing about and explaining to you about the Food Lovers Weekend and what we were doing, and how we progressed from one couple to 3 couples, how we got the rooms done to allow us to have this revenue coming in, I think all of that has to be explained. Otherwise you just think, oh, Dick and Angel started a business and they lived happily ever after. There's a little, well, we are going to. We are living happily ever after, but what we have to do is make sure that all those elements are captured so you understand it. And sort of Charlotte and Richard's wedding, that has to be in detail.
And
you made them work in the kitchen. We had the family working in the kitchen. So Charlotte and Richard's wedding, the details of all of the elements we had to do, there was so much, because that was the first.
Again, there was just so many.
Oh, it was the second night. We got our wedding first.
No, I know.
We had our wedding first. That was different.
What I love really about this is that there's been a couple of books I've picked up in my life that have sort of nearly done it, but there's loads of recipes in this book, isn't there? And there's also some craft, and because at that moment that we've done that, we just thought, well, actually, it would be nice to share. So you know, if you fancied, you can upholster a chair, or you can make pancakes or something, and and I think that's what that is what is a little bit different about this book. And
it's interesting when you say this sort of the food is a huge part of us being out here. Take a seat, paint, wax on, wax off, grab some steel wool, or upholster the chair. All of that side of life is how to do it. Do you know what? Little things like a chicken and spinach roulade. That was a height of sophistication when we were sort of making something nice to look on the table. The kids love it. It just tastes good, but it also looks good. And if we told you how good it tasted, you didn't say, look, Granny's pancakes. That's my mummy's pancakes. Yeah, part of an Ulster fry. Anybody who knows what an Ulster fry is will understand why you have to have a recipe in there for Granny's pancakes. But all of those things, see, all of the elements that we collected here.
Oh, Christmas.
Yeah, it's the stories and the bits come through. I think it's just so important that we give them that detail. There's also people have watched us, and one little example: the lift.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to have a lift. That seems so illogical, and you see it in the program. Dick and Angel decided to do a lift, and it goes lift, and it was hilarious. Very hard work. And I was very grumpy with Jesus, the person who said we had to be.
Oh, he wasn't that grumpy.
He said we had to be millimetric when he actually had 2.5 centimeters, 25 mils tolerance I could have actually guessed it and made it that accurate instead of using lasers. But when it came to the lift, the rationale behind the lift was hard to explain, and I don't think people understood until, if you understand that it turned the chateau into a bungalow for family, and because nobody had to worry about going up 90, we've got more than 90 stairs now, that's another story, but more than 90 stairs.
Actually, sort of writing back when your mum and the girls first stayed with us, because as you say, we bought a lift quite early on, which was a bit bonkers because we were quite strapped. But your mum and your sisters had been to
your nan, and just opened the whole chateau up.
Yeah, they always stayed around the corner because they couldn't do the stairs, and that sort of broke our hearts, didn't it? And then when
anybody can do the stairs once. Anybody can do the stairs once, and they're all game, and everybody can do the stairs.
No,
but if you need to get up and down, and you're 4 floors up,
yes,
that's somehow I should not be this shape. Well, how many stairs do we do in a day? You know when you get these little things.
Thousands.
Yeah, but we literally go up and down those stairs on it so much. But it is quite, especially last thing at night and all the rest of it. And the ability, when it's described sort of mum going up, and because mum and my sisters used to stay in the local gîte, the one we stayed in, before we actually bought the chateau, we actually moved into the chateau. We actually stayed there when we were doing the first couple of weeks' work this year. But that, staying there, was for good reasons, But then now, anybody can stay with us. Anybody can stay with us. We put them in the little tube, press the button, whoosh, go up to the top. Yeah.
And we don't actually use a lift, do we, on a daily basis, because it's too easy to do that. And every now and again, the kids will use it as a treat, or if their friends come over and they go up in the lift. But we generally save it for special occasions.
Or until we need it. Until we need it. I want to brush the cobwebs off it before we need it.
Yeah. Completely. So, but it was
the details that we sort of had to cover in that, and the decision making. If we don't actually explain it in a book, it's hard to sort of give the detail, and I think that's a huge part of it.
Exactly.
Now, the book itself covers our building use. We have. Towards the end of that, our business was up and running to move through the book, because when the series was shown, and we had more sort of orders on our order book and all the rest of it, we were still making big decisions because this is a business is something where you have to actually get the balance right, and we have to make sure the income makes it so it can actually pay for itself.
Yeah, completely. And there's only so much you can do in a year, and it's strange because when I think this applies to any business, you've always got to plan and take commitments, and I think we really hope that you see us kind of create the life that we set out to do, and you
We didn't do 2 hour lunch hours, 2 hour lunch hours. We got that stage. We didn't quite create that part of the life yet.
But the nuances and the everyday, and also the moments of just real kind of just being with the family and doing things that are completely just for us, like there's bits in there that we share that are nothing to do with the television as well. But by the time, and we're not going to tell you, we don't want to give too much away, but by the time you get towards the end of the book, we all feel together, and I hope you do as well, that we've really made something happen. And it was a few, that was a few years in there. I think we end on
we've made something happen, but you see, we've made something happen, but also the chateau has grown. Arthur and Dorothy have grown from sort of 0 and literally to the day before we left, and they
Mum and Dad are here.
Yeah, your mum and dad have moved in. We've managed to get them here instead of they were in the village, but getting them here on site, giving them the facilities, making that multi-generation, but all of those things and things that it's sort of, we've got it down as living the dream, but actually the building is phenomenal over that period. And
completely, but every moment we loved and cherished. I think that's the thing. And if you've read the first book, and you'll know that if you had a question, you just email us and we answer. And I think that if you have a question, if you're reading a book and you go, oh, drop us a line, always. We're here. We love answering that questions and stuff. So, but I think that
you got some questions.
We've got some questions because
we did ask for comments and questions.
We did ask, and
I can tell you printed that out in sort of dot size.
I'm going to read them. Right, I know the first. I know the answer to this. This is Michelle Nunn.
She's done it already.
What was your favourite thing about writing the book?
I think just
reliving everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely and utterly reliving everything to the point that you're smiling away, or you're in tears, and you're completely encompassed in that moment. You really are. But just if you've got a memory, or go back and write about your wedding or having your first child or something. Write it down on paper.
No, but I think it was filling the gaps. It's filling the gaps that you'd forgotten about. Yeah. There were so many things we'd forgotten that when we started to think, we filled in, and I think we would have missed that if we hadn't done it. And I think that we both agree that completely. Next one.
Okay. Well, I like it when maybe. I think this may be more. This is hi Linda. You are so fabulously creative in your designs. Thank you very much. That's very sweet. But have you ever been stuck for ideas and how?
No.
How do you question? So no. The problem is, and I think most sort of people with that creative side of their brain that works, is that you have too many ideas, and actually the hardest thing is rationalising them and working out what you're going to focus on, because it's far too easy to get distracted. And we are in such a
we would never get distracted when we're having a conversation. We never sort of cover all the things we have to go. But I think one of the key things that's really important, your inspiration and the stories. Every single design that you've produced has got that backstory, and it could be for home furnishing, but even our solutions to every problem we have has got a story. We've got things on the wall here, and the things on the wall are there because it's part of our history and part of what we've got.
Completely.
And I think that's really important, because it is the messages that come to you which actually give you your inspiration.
Completely. And we're inspired by our surroundings, the children, and as they evolve, and as does the Chateau.
As they grow up, not evolve, because
yeah.
Arthur and Dorothy are evolving. Everybody, it sounds like Pokemon.
I know.
You've spent too much time with Arthur's Pokemon.
I have actually, but as they change, the inspirations will change as well. So okay, right.
Don't worry, that's a little noise upstairs. The children are fine. Don't worry, we're almost at the end of time anyway.
Right. Alicia, how do you go about deciding which rooms got renovated first, or was it all random?
Read the book.
Yeah, it's completely covered in the book. Actually,
we have to start making some money, so let's do the first thing first.
Completely not random. The opposite. Deb Murphy, do you keep a journal? Because it must be hard remembering things in the correct order of the book. Well, we covered this. No, we don't keep a journal.
We also notebooks. No, we keep notebooks.
It's got every single notebook that you've ever written in, and keep all archive, all my emails.
I can't read them.
Huh?
They're very, very messy.
They are very messy. But
I'm going to say it's going to be a last question after this one. I'm afraid, darling. Go.
Okie dokie.
Let's let people get away. I'll go and get them. I'm going to be running out.
All right, hold on. Oh.
See, we have.
Can we have a couple?
See, this is negotiation.
How do you keep going? There must be times when you're tired.
I'm permanently jiggered. Don't be so silly. And the answer is, you just do. Yeah? Well, that was an easy one. Go on, we have no choice. We just do it. Next one.
I can't imagine what on earth you would do when the day comes and you have finished all the rooms at the Chateau and you can put your feet up. Sim Smith, I love you. Do you think you might take on another property?
Whoa! Huh? Who's this Sim? Don't be so silly, Sim. See?
No, we are honestly. Please, one day that will come.
Yeah, we're going to start flipping chateaus because
I can't imagine that day in this property actually, because there's always going to be something to do, and I think that is part of the beauty of what we signed up for. It's it's a lifetime commitment, and
I'm hoping that we're going to get it done enough so it's not a lifetime commitment. It's more of a sort of a tickle along doing it. Cool. I learn something new every time we have one of these chats. Can I just say thank you very much for joining us. It's really good of you.
Lovely. Thank you for your continued support, and honestly, have a lovely evening, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, take care, and thank you so much.